Yo, what's going on, True Fam? Welcome back to the channel. It's Whiteshadow, and today, guys, we're going to go over a few more OBS settings that you guys should tweak if you're into professional streaming. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Alright, so today, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it because this is going to be a pretty in-depth stream with the settings and stuff. I know I did one kind of for like beginners and what you should really be focusing on if you don't have the best ever processing and all of that fun stuff, but this is going to be for those of you that have great processors, dual stream PC setups, things of that sort, and I'm going to show you how to really fine-tune and get to know the settings in OBS better. So starting with your general tab, you're not really going to want to mess around too much with this tab. Just make sure certain things aren't checked here, but the one you really want to worry about is, of course, your stream tab. This is going to be where your stream key goes in. If you've been streaming for a long time, you know this one already. I always do my server as auto, but it is good to know what server you're actually streaming to. If you're on the East Coast, you want to stay on East Coast servers. If you're on the West Coast, Central, you should know which server you really need to stream to and which is the best for you. There's a program you can download or actually go on the Twitch's website and test this out. So the thing we're going to be focusing on today really is going to be the output and the video tab, and these are the two most important tabs you really need to understand when it comes to streaming. Always switch this to advanced up at the top here. You see the output mode, make sure it says advanced, and make sure you are on the streaming tab. There is recording, audio, and replay buffer as well. Make sure you're on the streaming tab. Double check that always before you edit any of these options. So the encoder that you really want to focus on if you have the processing power, and majority of the streamers out there that have been doing it for a while know this, is X264. You can do NVENC or NVENC H264. Their preset has gotten a lot better, but I still prefer X264 because it does provide a smoother frame rate for Twitch. You always want to keep rescale output unchecked here because you don't want to rescale it down to 720. We'll do that in a different tab here in just a second, but you do want to make sure it says enforce streaming service encoder settings. What that allows it to do is it really enforces these settings and maintains priority while streaming. If you're on a dual streaming setup and you have a dedicated stream PC, it's going to allocate all of the cores and threads to that anyways, so you don't really have to worry about it, but just check that one to make sure. Now, moving down to rate control. I always use CBR. This is the one recommended by Twitch, and right now, since I am streaming at 720p, 16 frames per second, I either go around 3500 to 4500. I do believe on my streaming PC I'm on 4500. If you're running into frame rate drops and things of that sort, try bringing your bitrate down first before you touch any other setting. Bitrate is usually the one that really kind of affects the FPS drops and things of that sort, and keeps everybody from buffering as well. So if you're doing 720p 60 frames per second, I would recommend staying in between 35 to 4500. That provides enough bitrate for the smoothness of your stream, and it won't kill your viewers either, because we have viewers on mobile and some people don't have the best internet ever, so you want to kind of take them into consideration as well. Now the next thing you want to go ahead and click right here is use custom buffer size. I use a buffer size and I always match it to my bitrate, so I use a buffer size of 3500. And what that does is it just maintains a buffer for your bitrate. It's easy peasy. Now you guys know this if you've been streaming for a while. Your keyframe interval is always set to 2 if you are on Twitch. If you're on other platforms, they will tell you what the keyframe interval should be. Now CPU usage preset. This is arguably one of the other most important ones, and one that not a lot of people really focus on because they don't know which one to do. So the lower this goes, so you have ultra fast at the top, that's going to be less CPU intensive. The one at the very bottom is placebo. That is going to kill your processor depending on which one you have. I usually stay right around, if I'm on a single PC stream, faster or very fast. If I'm on my dual PC setup, if I'm on my dedicated streaming PC, I can go all the way down to slow or medium. I don't really go to slower because I also record my streams at the same time, so I can then edit them and get little clips and stuff to use for social media. If you want to, and you have a very high-powered system, if you have a dedicated streaming PC with Threadripper or some high core count Intel counterpart, you can probably go down to very slow or placebo and try it that way. It's going to look really, really smooth, but keep in mind you need a super powerful processor to go to one of these bottom three here. I have an 8-core, 16-threaded processor. It's an Ryzen 7 1700 as my dedicated CPU for streaming, and I stream on slow right now at 720p 60 frames per second, and it looks great. Buttery smooth. It provides a good stable feed back out to Twitch, and I've never had a real big issue with it. Keep in mind, you will need a little bit higher of a bit rate, like I said, 3500 to 4500, in order to maintain the slow preset. A lot of people stick to medium and it looks fine. You're not really going to tell a difference between the two, and I would say going any lower than slow isn't going to provide that much of a boost that you really need to do so. So yeah, slow or medium if you're on a dual PC setup. If you're on a single PC setup, I would say faster, very fast, super fast, or ultra fast, depending on your processor. But for now, we're going to set it to medium just for the sake of the video. Now, profile is always going to be main if you're on Twitch. There's nothing different about it. You always want to keep the profile on main because that is a requirement for streaming out to Twitch to their servers. They require that from OBS or whatever broadcasting service you use. And keep in mind, guys, up to this point, all of these settings will transfer to other streaming services. So if you're using OBS Live, that's just a reskin of OBS. If you're using Streamlabs OBS, same rule applies here. So all of these settings will apply to those particular streaming softwares. So don't think that these are going to be different by any means. I just like OBS and I prefer how it looks because they break it down a little bit better than the other platforms do. Now, tune, you can kind of play around with this. You can kind of make it look like film. It kind of smoothens everything out. Animation, grain, still image, blah, 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 blah. I don't really ever play around with this. I have tried film before. It looks cool, but you don't really need to. It's just another way to help tune it. Keep in mind, this is going to be another CPU intensive item. So if you don't have the best processor on the planet, don't mess with this. Just keep it at none. Now, moving on to another tab, I know I said I wasn't really going to cover this, but I kind of want to, simply because audio is important. I always run at 48 kilohertz because that's a higher sample rate. It makes everything sound a little bit better, and it just provides a better audio frequency when editing as well. So if you ever need to boost something in post-processing or something like that, of course, if you're recording your stream, if you're not recording, don't really worry about it. But it always provides a little bit more oomph in your audio presence. So I always keep my channels to stereo. You can go 5.1, 7.1, mono even, but I keep mine in stereo because 9 times out of 10, you're not really going to process 5.1 audio unless you absolutely want to. Most people are listening via headphones anyway, so why not just do it in stereo? I always keep desktop audio device to default, and that is the one that you set down in your Windows settings. So I'm using the Realtek digital output. I'm using the optical cable into my Sound Blaster XGT6. So I just keep the setting in desktop audio for OBS as my default to whatever I set it in Windows. That's a very important thing. You can change this to whatever you want, but I keep it plain and simple. Now, as you can see here, all of my audio devices are disabled because for a reason. I actually set each of my audio devices in the sources itself per scene. So what this does is it keeps everything from getting mixed up in the mixer. Say you're playing an intro, you don't want your microphone on while you're doing an intro. I have another video on this and how I set that up, and I will link that in the description below. Now, I don't really ever touch anything down here, audio meter, decay rate, and peak meter type, because those I've never had to really. And desktop audio, I never mess with this either. There are different options. I'm sure there's other videos out there, but I don't use them, so I'm not going to tell you guys to. Now, moving on to the video tab. The video tab, this is where you're going to downscale your actual output. So base canvas resolution is always going to be 1920 by 1080 or whatever your screen resolution is. If you have a 1440 display, you can do 1440. If you have a 4K, you can do 4K. I'm not sure if you can actually do 4K. I don't think OBS supports it yet, but you may be able to. Right here on your output scaled resolution, this is going to be how you downscale it. So I go 1280 by 720. That's a 720p signal. And I use my downscale filter as bicubic. Now, you can use Lanczos and bilinear and all of that fun stuff. I've noticed that Lanczos actually uses a ton of CPU when using this, so I try to take the load off just a little bit by using bicubic, and my eyes can't really tell a difference. People say that Lanczos is a lot smoother and it provides a better feed. I don't think so. Don't use bilinear because you will notice a big difference. Bicubic's kind of the mid ground there. So Bicubic's the best in my opinion. You can try Lanxos. If you see a difference, by all means, use it. Now, common FPS values is going to be how many frames per second you are going back out to Twitch. I do 60. This is the max you can do going back out to Twitch servers. And there's a common thing with single PC streams that you want to kind of take a look at here. You're only able to output 60 frames per second back out to Twitch in your game that you are playing. And this is going to be something off key here. This isn't anything about OBS. When you're playing your game and you notice frame rate stutters on Twitch, but you're not dropping any frames through OBS, it means your game is providing too much frames per second, and OBS isn't able to capture all of them. It's capturing 60. So say you're playing Fortnite, you're getting 180 frames per second. OBS is only able to capture 60 of those. So while you're playing the game at a higher FPS, OBS should be able to take those 60 frames and spit them back out to Twitch to make it look good, but that isn't always true. It's taking 60 frames and putting them back out to Twitch, and it looks choppy to your viewers because your game is your gaming rig or your actual game is rendering the frames faster than what OBS can keep up with. So if you're on a single PC stream, you want to max out your games at 60 FPS to make it smoothest for Twitch. This is where dual PC streams come into play. You can play your game at max resolution, you can play it at max frame rate, and then capture a 1080p 60 signal via your capture card and put it back into your streaming PC. That is kind of the plus side to having a dual PC setup, but this is kind of talk for another video. But I wanted to clear that up because a lot of people are saying, well, I have mine capped at 60 and it's still choppy on Twitch because your game is likely playing the frames at a higher frame rate than what OBS can keep up with. So always cap your game at 60 when using this value. Now here on the advanced tab, there are things that you can do. I never really touch these because you can edit all of your video stuff in the source itself. I never really touch this tab, but there's a bunch of stuff you can do here to you can do low latency mode, enable networking code, blah, 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 blah. You can do tons of stuff here. You can tune it however you feel. One thing I will say is you can make your process priority on your streaming PC, if you have a dedicated PC, too high. So what that does is it puts your OBS encoding to the maximum on your streaming PC. Do not do this on single PC streams. Don't do this because it will make your frame rate fall very sharply in your games. If you're on a single PC stream, keep it on normal. Now, the last thing you should do before you save all of your settings is make sure, before you ever hit that OK button, hit apply. Always hit apply, simply for the fact that it will apply all of the settings that I just showed you. There have been many, many, many times that I have gone over here and hit OK and it didn't save anything and I had to go back through and remember what I did on each of these tabs. It is a pain in the butt. Don't hit OK. Hit apply, then OK. Alright guys, so that's kind of a simple rundown. This is a little bit more advanced. You want to make sure you're really fine-tuning these settings in OBS and spend some time with the settings. If you ever have any questions, be sure to reach out to one of us in Discord. We will definitely help you with this. But the settings in OBS will make or break your stream. When you get a new PC, you're setting everything up, you want to make sure your PC is going to be able to handle this. So the settings I just showed you are for people that have 6-core 12-threaded processors, 8-core 16-threaded processors or more, or if you have your own dedicated streaming rig. You need a decent PC with 16 gigs of RAM, a decent GPU because, of course, if you're running games, or if you're rendering your stream off of your GPU. You need a little bit better top-end specs. I will go ahead and tell you right now the settings I just showed you will not work with an i7 7700K or an i7 6700K. I know a lot of people come to me asking, hey, will this work? Unfortunately, no. As good as the i7 7700K is, it's not enough cores and threads to be able to handle all of the encoding that I just showed you. You need at least a 6-core, 12-threaded processor or more to handle the encoding that I just showed you. If you ever have any issues on that front, always remember, take your bitrate down and take your CPU encoding preset up. That will help your stream and take a little bit more slack off the processor so you can play your game or design, do whatever you guys like to stream a little bit better, and it'll look better for your viewers. Don't think you have to have the max settings to have a good stream. stream with what you got, guys. That's kind of the theme that I go with. But yeah, hopefully these settings will definitely help a lot of you out there, because this is a question I get almost daily from everybody. What settings should I be using for the specs that I have? I'm trying to cover everybody. Just play around with it if one of these didn't work for you. Or if you have a question, shoot me one in direct message on Twitter, Discord, or come find me somewhere on stream. But guys, I hope you guys liked this video. If you thought it was awesome, hit the thumbs up and be sure to hit that subscribe button before you guys leave today. I would super appreciate it. If you want to follow myself or TRUgaming on any of our social medias, be sure to do so. All of those links are in the description below, and I would love to have you guys come hang out with me on stream sometime. Let's talk tech, I'll show you my setup, and let's just hang out together. But guys, that about does it for the video. I will see you in the next one. We got plenty more helpful content coming to the channel, so hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Whiteshadow out.